Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.
Hey everyone, I am Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her Podcast. Today on Life Her Podcast, we're honored to welcome Miss Patricia Wicks, a powerhouse in the youth development, family support, and community engagement. With over 30 years of experience, Miss Patricia has transformed systems, led award-winning programs, and founded PATHworks to help parents and teens thrive together. She's a leader, speaker, consultant, and mentor. And today she's here to share her wisdom that's really real, raw, and full heart. Hey, Patricia, how are you?
Hey there, Miss Vet. How are you? Hello.
Hey, girl. I am good, girl. Well, I am honored to have you on here, and I'm really excited about this conversation.
Absolutely, me too. You know, we go way back.
Yes.
So I'm happy that we can come together today and have this conversation. I'm ready.
Yes. So first and foremost, what you've had an inspiring journey since 1992, dedicating your life and your young people and also the systems that you serve them. What inspired you to take this path?
Girl, I would actually say, you know, it's personal, right? I mean, I guess what we all do is personal at some extent, but I was a little black girl in the school, you know, reading my books. They were saying, you know, Patty, what you over there doing? What you over there thinking? I was always thinking. I was always curious. And I remember Data saying what I couldn't do. You know, you were a little black girl from a broken family, and these are the options that you have in your life. And that just didn't sit well with me because I read a lot, I experienced a lot of life and said, there has to be more than this. And I found people throughout my life, young life and into my young adulthood, since you went to 1992, who really poured into me, who modeled behavior that they wanted to see, who let me know that whatever was in my mind I could do, and also helped me realize the tools that I had on the inside. So those things helped me realize that, you know, all young people are brilliant the way that they are created. There are no labels to determine what you're going to do and who you're going to be. And I knew that I wanted a program, I wanted a company, I wanted an opportunity to serve people in a way that helped young people be who they're here to be and do what they're here to do, and the organizations who work on their behalf to work better together so they don't jack it up once we get them together. You know what I'm saying? That works. So, you know, individual system organizations and then the systems that impact them. So that's kind of really short and sweet.
Man, so you know, in the community as you, being you, doing so much in it, and what do you think about as far as your leadership style and that makes it such a lasting impact on your team and also the youth that you serve?
You know, what I call it now is being a hope relationship. Hope relationships are people, places, and opportunities that help us and hinder us with no intent to harm. And I guess we can talk about that more. But my leadership has been created based on the people around me, if that makes sense. People say servant leader, people say all these different things. I would just say I do the work. I model the behavior I want to see. I mean what I say. I have the knowledge, I have the skills that I've developed by hard work. And from that hard work, you produce your results. And when I think people around you recognize that you're in it to win it, you're in it to work. You know, you're not telling them to do things that you're not going to do yourself, that you haven't experienced yourself, and that you honor their expertise so that what we're doing is synergizing. I call it synergy building now, but back in the day, I didn't know that's what I was going to call it. It was simply, I knew that we could do more if we all had our brain fully engaged in what we were trying to accomplish. The things that we created couldn't have happened without the people in the room. I helped to synergize that. I helped to kind of be the catalyst for all of our energies to come together to create the one vision and then implement it, execute it, and get an outcome. So I think that's what's made my leadership different. I will say one other thing, because I'm thinking about it and I'll forget. People always say, fake it till you make it, that whole fake it till you make it thing. I just hurt myself. My whole body just is having issues with that. One of the teams that I was blessed to serve when I was in Chicago at the James Jordan Boys and Girls Club, they put it on a plaque for me because they knew that's what Miss Patricia is about. And it said, I would rather fail with honor than succeed by fraud.
Whoa.
I rather fail with honor than succeed by fraud. So I think that's what I would share about my leadership too. I mean it. We're going to work. We're going to be real. We're going to be authentic. We're going to tell the truth. And we're going to do the work. And when we fail, because sometimes we do, we're going to say, you know what? I failed. I jacked up. And look at what we can do now because we know that. So that's what I say about leadership.
When you actually started doing all of this, what was your mindset on making that change and making a difference? Because the kids back then is different from the kids today. So where are you at when it comes to that, seeing the actually millennials and the Gen X now, and how have you had to shift that to actually, making it work?
I really appreciate you asking that question because my foundation is human development, not labels. So even when we talk about generations, we're talking about labels. Someone has done some research and decided that here's some characteristics that we're going to put on this group of people. So that's a perception inside of a perception inside of a frame that determines what it's going to be. And I just don't live that way. Now, there's reality too. So to answer your question more directly, I don't have to change anything because I'm who I am. So what does that look like? My message is the same. Be who you're here to be and do what you're here to do. And as you walk into what your joy is, the rest of the world sees that joy and starts responding in kind. If you have an idea and you put it out there, the correct people, the right people you're supposed to see, the people, place, and opportunities will find you because you're putting it out there. You have an idea, you have a thought. So human developmentally speaking, people need the same things at different stages of their life. That's just what it is. The biggest differences I see between back then and now, it's interesting because I really don't. Young people want to be loved. They want to be listened to. They want their words to matter. They want what they're doing to matter. They want to know that they're contributing. They want to know that you're not just blowing smoke. They want to know that you're real. I don't care how old you are. I mean, I want that too. Don't blow smoke at me, Talk to me real. If you're interested in working with me, then work with me. If you're not, don't. Let me see if I have some place for you to go. But for the young people, it's the same thing. No, they don't. I have definitely changed the format and the length of time that I can say things when they first meet me. That is different. So back in the days, I could put a bell curve on the board and talk about test prep with them based on that bell curve and show them that the ACT is not they're more than a score. It's not a test. Nowadays, I have to give different examples, and I have to let them know that I care faster. They'll accept that I care faster. I put it that way. In the past, you had to do some stuff and then, okay, yeah, she mean it. She came 3 times and she said the same things and she meant it. I felt that. Nowadays, I can tell them in 3 seconds I mean it, and they get it and they go. So, it's interesting that way. It is faster, but it's faster in all ways. You can get trust faster, just as well as other things. So that's a difference.
Yes, it's a huge difference, but I understand what you're saying as far as just being you. Because if this is what you love to do, and this is where where you stand at, and this is the mission that God has given you and blessed you with, you would easily be able to transition and shift everything into whatever generation we end up coming to.
Say it again. For it's interesting because I know you'll talk about it, but even in how PATHworks has grown my company, I started off because a mom said, Miss Patricia, can you help my son get the ACT done because he wants to go to this D1 school and he doesn't have the grades. Like that's literally how PATHworks started, as far as it's a thing. Like I'm actually going to do this.
Yeah.
All the way till now, where I have multiple things and multiple ways to serve. So yeah, just
yes.
keep it rolling.
Yes. So you work closely with parents and teens to help them transition into self-sufficient adulthood. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen parents face in the process?
So I work with young adults. I work with families, so the system that the young adult lives in, so that could be parents. I work with the organizations, and then I seek to impact the structures, so governmental structures, just so that your audience is clear of how this works. So I model the behavior that's possible when I'm working directly with a young person and their families. And the biggest challenge, honestly, is us. Because we are not our parents, but we are going to do things for our young people in a way that either we didn't get, or we're going to make sure we don't do what they did to us, kind of thing.
Yes.
So because I'm not my mother, I have a 20-year-old daughter. When I'm working with her, parenting her, I'm not her. I'm me to her. This relationship is so important to stay connected. And when we as the parent are in our mind about what we did and didn't do, what we got, what we didn't got, what was right, what was wrong, and hey, we're going to do this, we end up setting up a conflict, a comparison with our children. And so you see how young people or parents, sometimes you see they're clashing or they're competing with each other. It's the parent competing with their young person, the young person growing in that environment and competing back and not quite knowing why, because this is all that they know so far in life. I think that's the biggest challenge that I see when I'm working with families.
Yeah. Like, it's like, I'm going to outdo you type thing when it's coming from both of them. And then you have like the parents, some of them didn't have the tools that the child is receiving at that very moment. And then they have these like egos that's attacking each other constantly over and over, when the parent needs to grow up too as well. And then I've also experienced parents jealous of the child because the child is where they want it to be at a point in time in their
Yep.
lives, and they had to raise them, or they made mistakes in their life and everything, and they are upset with their child because of that. And it's really hard and difficult when it comes to that sometimes, and a lot of people need to take consideration of doing therapy when it comes to that.
Mhm. I would say that's exactly an example of what I mean by comparison. The jealousy that happens, even if you can't name it. And this isn't a socioeconomic thing, y'all. This is human. This is people. This is not any demographics. It's people. The comparison of, especially when I've raised you and I've given you all the things I didn't have, and then you may or may not do what I think you should be doing next because that's what I'm living through you. And the way that I say it all the time is, as parents, we love our children, but we want to love them to life, not to death. And so it's don't love them to death, love them to life. And how we do that is we relinquish control of our young people's successes and failures. That way we can discipline ourselves to know where we start and stop. And then we can provide guidance to them as they live their life. You see, because guidance is walking with them. Discipline is not for them, it's for us, so that we can then guide them. So yeah, that's a big thing. It's a big thing.
It is. So what is one key strategy you teach parents to help them support their teens' independence without losing themselves in the process?
Absolutely. So when I do have conversations with parents, because again, I usually focus on their young adult, high school age, college age, and then we'll have parent sessions sometime. You know what I mean? But when the parents come to me and ask me those kind of questions, and actually, I did a free thing so that everyone can learn about it. Actually, there's 3 tips that I give them. So the one that I'll share with us today is knowing where you start and stop. Sounds real
Mm.
simple. Ooh, it's not. Ooh, it's so hard. Ooh, I have to do it all the time, every day. Like I mentioned, I have a 20-year-old. Woohoo, honey. But yeah, knowing where we start and stop. So doing our own work, like you said, going to therapy, meditating, getting centered, journaling, really taking time to understand what your perspective is, what you've done in your life, how you were with your family, and really make that yours so that
Mhm.
you know where you start and stop. So now when I'm talking with my young person, I'm not in my head with my history. And I won't call it baggage, it's our history. It's
Yeah.
part of the legacy of who we are today. There's nothing wrong with it, but we do need to know where it starts and stops because we're raising our children. So everything that they know, we taught them. No one behind us taught them that. We taught them. And so knowing where we start and stop gives us permission to do something different. So I encourage them that way. And I encourage them, I just say, hey, you are not your parents. You're not your mother. You're not your father. You're yourself. You are the only mother or father or, figure that young person has. And they're
Mm.
this many days old. So all they know is what they know. You've had longer and they have a perspective. So,
Yeah.
these are the kinds of the ways that we start talking about it.
Yeah, and it's needed too because even though I think sometimes parents need to realize it doesn't matter how old you are to
That's right.
grow. Like you could be in your 70s and still growing. you
Listen.
know, it's just always time it's always time and room to grow, and it's always room for you to make a difference and change and do better for yourself. So that is one of the things that is super needed and needs to be known a lot more for people, because as long as you're living, you can still live that dream.
Listen, every plant, if you raise plants, then if it stops growing, it's dead.
Mhm.
If you don't keep growing, you're dead. So as long as we have breath, there's something to learn, there's something to know. I agree with that.
Yes. So let's talk about real deal about stress in session.
Okay, that's
so,
fine.
so why is it so important for both youth and adults to learn how to handle strong emotions?
Girl, well, everything that we're talking about, the living life is strong emotions. Let's just say it that way. We
Yes.
are human. We are human. And I believe that all of our emotions are normal, needed, and natural. It's the way that we talk to our body, it's the way that we talk to others through our emotion, through our face, through the way that we emote. And, we name things, positive, negative, this dichotomy. But really, I would encourage us to consider the spectrum of all of it. It's all the human condition. We need the rain so we can to appreciate the sunlight. Anger is important on a chemical level, and I won't bore y'all with that. But they're important on a chemical level. It's our bodies responding to outside stimuli. Stress is one of them. So the
Yeah.
real deal is respond to every attitude with love, meaning when I'm mad, I love you. When I'm happy, I love you. I always have joy. So I'll talk all day about that. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you
But
did.
that's what emotion is. I mean, it's part of us living. It's part of our life. And so having an ability to communicate when you have strong emotions, knowing when to not talk, but also
Mhm.
knowing how to stay connected through the waves of life.
That's true. So you talk about hope relationships and it being more mentorship. What do you believe what makes relationships truly transformative for a young person?
Again, hope relationships are the people, places, and opportunities that help us and hinder us with no intent to harm. And that framework actually um, It places in all the systems that I've talked about. But specifically to your question around young people, and say it again to me, I apologize, because I framed it for myself, but I need to remember the specific question.
Being how, like, what do you believe will makes relationships truly transformative for a young person?
Yes. So hope, and you mentioned hope relationship. So hope relationship is authentic. Each person comes to the space authentically themselves. They don't have to prove nothing. They don't got to figure nothing out. They can just talk and be who they are. It's based on mutual respect. Mutual respect means that we both have the same value in this relationship. We have different experiences and exposures, but the same value. So we can learn from each other. It has shared expectations. Now, quickly, a priority is what we gonna do. Like, I'm gonna do my priority. You're gonna do your priority. An expectation is something that you want me to do. An expectation is something someone outside of you wants you to do. Shared expectation is my priority that you agree with. So think about that. You and I are a mentor mentee. We're authentic with each other all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
We have mutual respect. We have shared expectations because my priorities are your priorities and your priorities are my priorities, and vice versa. They're expectations, that share expectations. And the third thing is continuous improvement. Not one person on this earth is perfect. So
No.
I like to say we strive for excellence, not perfection. And so that's how we learn and grow. So those four things, I believe, is how a young person knows that they're loved and it's a positive relationship. But I would say, like I've mentioned, this is individual systems and organization and structural institutions. These four pieces work for all of it. And it allows us to move through life and do what we're here to do and be what we're here to be.
Yeah. And when it comes to like young kids now, me personally, I've worked with the youth
Yes.
and everything. But the intelligence of the youth now is kind of
Mhm.
different. Even with me having a daycare, seeing
Mhm.
certain things with the younger babies and stuff,
Mhm.
they are more techy.
Yeah.
So it's like you really have to shift some parts of your teaching styles
Mhm.
and how they are learning academically to be a lot more creative for them to be able to know. And it comes with them developing their emotions too,
Mhm.
because their emotions is not, hey, that's my toy, or
Right.
hey, you can't come to my birthday party, like how it
Mhm.
was when I was younger. Now
Mhm.
it's more like, give me that tablet.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like a give and take thing. But
Mhm.
their emotions seem a lot stronger than what it was when we were younger.
Mhm.
And I think it's the part of the tablet raising them and not the actual parent, because their face is actually in something all the time, constantly. So
Mhm.
it's like a lot of parents should take a lot more accountability when it
Mhm.
comes to that and spend more one-on-one time with their kid and show them a lot of love and everything as much as they can of their knowledge, because
Mhm.
they may not have received it either.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I view like that's where a lot of the lack comes in, when it's always possible to still, connect with the kids and be
Mhm.
transformative and build these relationships. But it's just you have to really be creative now. You have to.
Mhm. You have to do something different than you're used to doing
Yes.
because society is moving
Yeah.
and
And
there's new
uncomfortable.
ways to communicate. Exactly. Exactly. And you're going to be uncomfortable if you're doing something different. What I've always known is fill in the blank. And now these newfangled gadgets, I think about my 100-year-old grandmother, right? Who predates regular telephone. I am the rotary phone plugged to the wall. I remember those days, and now we have, this actual computer that I'm carrying around. I
Mm-hmm.
think that the bottom line to all of what you said, first of all, I appreciate you share that, but the bottom line to me is connection is connection. I think that it adapts and grows as technology and as society continues to grow. I think if we hold on to the back of the car and our feet are off of the ground and we're just getting dragged, it's gonna hurt to just get
Mm-hmm.
dragged. I think you should let go of that. It's gone. We are today, just like we've had to do 20 years ago and 20 years ago and 20 years ago. There's new technologies. I don't think it's your I put it to you this way. Here's a tablet nowadays. Back in the day it was go outside.
Yeah.
Right? I left at sunrise and I came back right before the lights came on. That's the same as get the tablet. I just was outside. So to your point, I had to engage with more people in person. And
Yeah.
that's the world that we lived in. Now I'm engaging with millions of people, not in person. And I love that you said their emotions seem higher. Well, think about it. If I'm on this screen and I'm emoting, I actually can be honest. I can
Yeah.
just let it come out how it needs to, because who's going to tell me, who's going to regulate it external to me?
Hiding.
Right,
Hiding.
right. I have to self-regulate. Well, I have to self-regulate how much I'm going to give to the person. I don't have the response from the other person as quickly as I did out on the block. If you did something, said something, whatever, you could get rectified quickly, out
Mm-hmm.
there. But on there you can't. So to your point, maybe it's not a question of this is good or bad. Maybe it's a question of how do we continue to grow as human beings
Yes.
in how we communicate and engage with technology and tools. Because regardless of what it is, adults, I won't say you're the biological, I'm just going to say the adults in young people's lives and the young people in our lives, we have a relationship and we get to figure out how that's going to be. And it's not good or bad or better, or, it's not that. It's more, how do we do this now?
Mm-hmm.
That's mutually respectful. How do we
Yes.
do this now? You know? So that's what I'd say about that.
And we don't do it too.
Listen, I get a text and a FaceTime every morning and before I go to bed, and I'm learning the emojis enough to not say something crazy. How about
Yes.
that?
Yes. So your academic background combines education, social work, and policy. How
Yeah.
has that unique combination shaped how you design solutions for youth and families?
How it That is such a great question. I guess I'll answer that. That is just a great question. Because of my policy work, it's like I guess I have to step back and say, look, I knew that human beings were complicated. And I knew that the things that impact us make it even more complicated. And so there's all these systems and processes that are impacting our ability to be who we're here to be. That's really the bottom line. And so I knew I needed tools to be able to talk about that in a way that other people could understand me. So I use those tools so that I have perspectives from different sectors of the world. Like I understand and I have a respect for human development. So what the individual needs to go through to become an adult, basically, okay, and function successfully, if you want to think of it that way. Um, the work that I've done in out of school time world and organizations and organizational development, that world has helped me see how systems and teams, specifically human capital, impact the mission. As an individual, the mission is to live and not die. Hello. As an organization, it's also live and not die, but it typically has a mission, whether it's for profit or nonprofit. It has a mission, a goal, a way that it wants to serve the community, right? It's a producer. And then you have structures, the systems, the policies that determine how things can happen, right? So for me, the way my brain thinks, all that makes sense, that I need to understand the full spectrum of how we move through this life. And I used education as my core institution, if you will, because it seems to be and still remains the gateway to many things. Um, we know, you and I both know founders and millionaires, billionaires who don't have a formal education, but if we look at their life, they do. They may not have a degree, but they do have formal education through experience and exposure. So I think that education and exposure, being able to engage in these different systems, if you will, have been why I needed to do it. And how it's impacted me is when I go into an organization that says, Ms. Patricia, can you help us improve our impact or create a sustainable model of impact with our organization? Or a parent says, hey, help me with my young person because I don't want to harm them physically, but I need them to act right, kind of thing. I'm able to receive a lot of information from what looks like all over the place. So all those dots go there and I can draw that line. Oh, this is where I see. And then I'm able to reflect it back, that social work. I can use my social work tools to reflect back what they're sharing with me so they can own it. So I can help create the environment for the other, the person, the team, the organization, the leadership, to own what they're experiencing in their space so that we work together to create their solution. So now I'm not making you accountable for nothing. You can't do that, by the way. I create an environment for you to build your own ownership of what your priority is. I talked about what a priority is already. What your priority is as an individual, what your priority is as an organization, what your priority is as a structure, right? As a systemic structure, what is your priority? Owning that so that now as we create solutions to improve the outcomes, you own it, you're accountable to it, you make it happen. I support that.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question. That's kind of
yes. Yes, definitely.
Listen, I got Yoda. You know the little green dude, Yoda?
Yeah.
Okay, so Yoda is Luke Skywalker, right?
Yes.
Luke was a hot mess trip. Well, at least that's my opinion of him. He came to old boy's planet, landed, and acted like he knew everything. And Yoda was like, bro, I'm sitting here chilling, minding my business. You might want to move off of that. And Luke was like, no, I'm going to do these things. And Yoda was like, all right, fine, handle it. And what did he do? He sunk and was going to be dead. Well, Yoda didn't let him die. He pulled him up out, brought him over, but he also didn't force him to do anything. He helped him create his own understanding of where he wants to be so he could take ownership of it and achieve it. And one of my coaching students, I say, I'm just laughing about it because I was down at UIUC for, I spoke to the young women in entrepreneurship, and I got to see him because that's his campus. And one of my colleagues asked him, so Miss Patricia is your coach, huh? He's like, yep, she's been with me since I was a junior in high school. He's a junior in college now, mechanical engineering, very proud of him. And he said, so Miss Patricia really held your hand. He said, no, she didn't hold my hand at all. No. Not even at all. He said, it's more like that thing that you put around someone this way. And so you're just moving around life, doing your thing. And then if you get too far to the edge, you almost about to die, she'll pull it a little bit just so you can feel it. Oh, okay. And so you can make a different choice. So relinquish control of others' successes and failures. Discipline yourself so you have the capacity to guide.
Yes. It's and not hold hands.
No hands holding, honey.
No. So you're not just a professional powerhouse. You're also a mom, a creative spirit, and a community servant. How do you stay grounded and pour back into yourself?
Into myself. Well, that's been a 5-year goal for the last 5 years. I had to acknowledge that it was pretty dry up in here. I love music. I love outside. Literally just being outside, walking down the street. It doesn't matter if I prefer water, but it doesn't have to be water. It can be the neighborhood, just walking outside. Those are things that ground me. I love beautiful things. I love to go to the art museum, and there's certain pictures that I'll just go and stay with. And I love to read. So these are things that allow me to relax my mind and my body and enjoy live music, art, and I meditate. So you said how I take care of myself. I think this is how about I don't actually, can I say this on here? I don't kill nobody. How about that? So how I don't harm other people is I meditate. I have a very powerful meditation, and I do qigong. So it's
Oh, that's
just
nice.
it absolutely works. I was given well, they tried to give me a specific diagnosis back in 2022, and I was like, oh no, thank you, no thank you, and I increased my practices, and every time I have to still get the annual checkup thing, and they're like, I don't even know why I have to see you. You have nothing. Like I said, I know it was stress, and we're not gonna have that no more. So it's
Mhm.
possible. It's
Oh,
possible.
it's very possible.
Mhm.
So, what does self-care look like for someone that's actually pouring into others, and what should they do to actually continue on? Because some people will get drained when it comes to pouring in, and you do it 24/7.
Mm-hmm. Well, step one is you don't do it 24/7. That's really the first thing I'm just going to tell you, not to be whatever, but I'm just going to tell you, it's not no 24/7. Setting healthy boundaries is loving yourself. Setting healthy boundaries is loving yourself. And, I didn't understand fully what it meant when you love people from afar until the last couple years. It's like, no, I love you. And whenever we're together, it's not reciprocal. This is not a good feel for me. And it's
Mhm.
not being negative to the other person or selfish, to acknowledge that the people, places, and opportunities that I'm going to have in my space are going to help and hinder with no intent to harm. And when I express that there's harm happening to me, then that's not where I'm going to be.
Mhm.
And I think that's physically, that's mentally, and that's spiritually. I think that you really have to be honest with yourself. Yeah, and be gentle to yourself. I love to say, give myself grace. Um,
Yeah.
give myself grace. I actually, if I can find it quickly with the time that we have, I'll share something that I'm. Uh, Stillness breathe life into inner peace. I welcome new beginnings and opportunities for growth. I create the life I want to live. My peaceful heart creates positive change. I am open to new perspectives and ways of thinking. I am grateful for the people who love me. I am unafraid to be amazing. So, this is something that I will say to myself as an example. Um, I hope that encourages somebody. But just that's how you do it. Create
Yeah.
boundaries, give yourself grace, give yourself space.
So you have shifted from Chicago to Akron, from Akron, now you back in Chicago.
Mhm.
What made you make that decision for yourself?
So I was born in Ohio and grew up there. And then I went to school at Northwestern, as you know, for undergrad in Evanston. And I stayed here. And it was just an environment. We talked earlier in our conversation about environments and where you flow, where you thrive. And I thrive here. It's not a perfect place. People are still human every place. But I've been able to find people, places, and opportunities here that resonate on a similar, if not the same, vibration or energy as I give out, and higher consistently.
Yeah.
Um, I'm in a space where we have ideas and thoughts that we want to put into place, and there's no competition with the people I'm engaged with. It's
Right.
more that makes sense, that don't make sense, do it over again, or yes, that makes sense, go for it, and they support it. I have that type of community here. Now, not to say that there's no people like that in Akron, but when I moved back to Akron, it was because of a divorce, honestly. And I talk about it. I actually poured into people in domestic violence shelters when I first got back, to share my story and to share encouragement and love about, just who we are and whose we are and how we
Yeah.
get to live this life and how we get to share it. I raised my daughter in Ohio, and it was really healing. I got to reconnect with people that I love and who love me. And I was able to create some boundaries that I needed to create as well.
Yeah.
I feel like once my healing was done, it was like, yep, you need to go back home. I always knew I needed to come back home. And so I did. And it's truly water walking. People talk about water walking or walking in the air. I don't really pay attention to where my feet are. I know that I'm grounded, but I don't pay attention to the steps that I make. I just make them and go. And that in 6 months, I had been here for 6 months. I've been here a little over a year now, but
Uh-huh.
within 6 months of me being here, I was able to connect to an ed tech community called EdTech Institute of Chicago. I was able to meet the CTOs that have now created my prototype for the Flow app in 6 months. Like I went from I have nothing to I have it. I
Yes.
would not have been able to do that in Ohio, to the point where there were several things I launched there that if I'd been here, we would be talking on my yacht if
Hmm.
I had launched it here. And it's not a negative, it's not a slight. There's different places in the world where there's different priorities, and
Yes.
what success looks like and what you do to get to success is different. And the community that I have here and the people who embrace me here, um, I'm more aligned with how we go after this type of enterprise and this type of achieving what you're here to achieve on earth. I guess that's the quickest way I'd say it. So that's why I'm back home. And I will say this too. I taught my daughter, home is where we are.
Yeah.
So I absolutely see myself as home wherever I am, because I do have international interests. And wherever I am, I'll be home.
Yes. So, what upcoming projects and what opportunities do you have for people now?
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The biggest thing right now, well, there's two that are happening, and you find me on LinkedIn the easiest, and I know that you'll put a link someplace. But I have my synergy building consulting. I'm really doubling down on helping organizations work better together. So if you have high level stakeholder facilitations that you need done, or you want to infuse hope relationships in your leadership development strategy so that your staff works better together to achieve your goals. Um, that's what I'm focusing on. If you click the link when you get it, you'll be able to get an audit that you can take for yourself and for your organization to see where you lay, and then the opportunity to get on a call. On the family side, I'm really proud of the Adult Ready Academy, and that's coming along. And again, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll have an opportunity to engage with either one-on-one time with me if you would like that, or some of the tools that I'm putting out now digitally. We just launched the Flow Study Guidebook that will come live again for full consumption in another, I think, 2 weeks. So those are things that are going on right now. And I'm also speaking. So, have
Yes.
me out. I got you. I'd be happy to
Yes.
talk about, yeah, leadership, about connection with young people, about being a mentor. Hope relationships are more than mentors. Um, and applying those things to your life, to your organization, or to the structures that you're responsible for.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm so proud
Thank
of you.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm so proud of you. I remember that day.
I did too, like
Listen,
yesterday.
I'll never forget it. Who
Yep,
would have known? Who would have known?
I
But it's just
know.
hard. It's just hard. It was like, I'm just gonna support. I didn't care. I didn't know you good. I don't think I knew you really. I think I probably knew people in your line high older than you, but I don't think I even knew you. I just knew that
Yep.
you were passionate about what you were doing, and I wanted you to know that I saw you and I appreciated what you were doing. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. You're
So
welcome.
what do your legacy and hope to have behind PathWorks and LifeWorks?
So I wanna leave this plane empty is the first thing I'll say. Everything that's in here that I've been given, I want it to be out here. I want to see people, hope relationships is about that authenticity of doing what you're here to do, if it's an organization or otherwise, and being honest with that. So I really, internationally, globally, I want to see young adults have their spark and go for it and achieve it. however it is their journey takes them. Like literally be free to do that. I want to see organizations honor that there's a number of people, but there's a mission that holds it together. And for them to have a process of continuous improvement so that we don't get stagnant and so that it doesn't die. You know, I don't think that the whole world is perfect and everyone is going to be sunshiny and things. I expect all of the craziness to continue, quite frankly. But I believe that individually, thus collectively, we can create the environment that we seek. And so my legacy will be that people are hope relationships and they're going to work better together.
Yes. So if you could give one piece of advice to a young adult that's listening right now, especially those navigating through tough systems and transitions, what would it be?
Listen to your inside self because it matters, it means you well, and it knows exactly what you need to do next.
That's so true. That is really true.
Well, you asked me.
Yes. Because it's like sometimes we don't really think about it, but when life starts lifing, it gets going.
Life starts life, and because the outside world tells you what you should be doing or not doing, what you're looking like, what you're not looking like, the outside self. And it's fine. We have that. But our inside self knows who we are. We close it off. And we close
Yes.
it off.
You
And
know,
I'm
we
just
have
saying.
to. Yeah,
Mhm.
we have to close it off. And you know, it's so crazy what you saying that because you know, I've been podcasting now for 5 years,
Mhm.
and I've had people that wanted to represent me in the
Mhm.
publicist world, but it's like I didn't like the fact that they wanted to change me. And then
Correct.
they give me examples of other people and the things that they are doing, and like, hey, you should maybe do something like this. No, that's
Mhm.
not what I want to do. You
Correct.
like a lot of times people need to just look at themselves as a person, love themselves as a person,
Mhm.
and pivot from there. And just
Mhm.
you'll be a lot of people will be surprised how many people will love them for who they are, and
Yes.
they will be a breath of fresh air when they
Yes.
are talking to you, because
Yes.
you are sometimes 9 times out of 10, sometimes you're talking to program people, and it's not comforting, it's not welcoming, and you
Mhm.
just be like, oh God, here we go. they
Mhm.
they done
It's the
seen
script.
they done seen this on Instagram, and they just saying what they say.
That's right. And listen, what you're talking about is what research does. When we talk about data, raw data is one thing, but as soon as we start interpreting it, it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's looking at the world and then saying this, because I've seen this so many times, this is what it is. But that's not true. There's a confidence interval. There's a probability, a P-score to that, for people who know stats. It's like, no, I, I
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, and I live this, and I had to decide it myself. I mean, it's not like I grew up like I just knew this. Like I had to decide: am I what people say I am, or am I who I am?
Yeah.
I'm who I am. Okay, well then, who the heck are you? Because clearly, you walking around with all this data and all of these examples of what you're supposed to be doing. Who are you actually? And I tell you, once you realize who you are and you own it fully, the good, the bad, the smelly part, the smell good part, all who I am, where I need to grow, where I'm good, where I'm going to grow more because I'm good, whatever, you don't have to change. Every
No.
place I am, I stay the same. Now, some places I fit and some places I don't. And that's okay, because we're not
Yeah.
supposed to fit every place. You're supposed to fit where you fit. And, the places that I don't fit is an opportunity for me to grow my understanding of what's possible. But it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that's who I am. And to your point, it's taken me a long time to even sit here with you, right? Because I had to figure out what is this? I'm so used to being able to touch the person. We talked earlier
Yeah.
about tablets. I want to touch you. I want to touch you.
Yeah.
I want to feel your energy. It's taken me, you said 5 years of podcast, it's taken me about 15 years since I started this company, 16 now, to accept that I do good work.
Yes.
Period. Whether it's over this screen or whether it's in person, if it's one-on-one or if it's with a group. And there isn't a model out there that I'm doing. I'm doing me. Now, do I look at people who I would perceive as successful and how they do things? Absolutely. How many times do you post? But what I'm posting is what comes from me.
Yes.
Right? This is not like here's the strategy, here's the 5 things you do. No, I've listened to 15 of them. And what resonates for me is what you see me post, because that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we got to remember. We are being authentically ourselves, creating our businesses, providing the service is us. And I would like when I was talking to those young women, you separate yourself from the product, meaning the worth. Your worth is whole and complete. Got nothing to do with whether people buy what you have or not. That's not your value. But who you are and how you do it.
Yes.
Listen.
You will take off, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like you really would, because what I've been learning is people want to meet more people like us. They are tired of the mediocre and the fakeness, and that, like, people are over it. It's like people are waking up to want something genuine,
Yes. Yep. Well, on my computer it says choose happy, and it says be light. So that's what I'm about.
Yes, ma'am. So how can people get in contact with you?
Well, you can actually reach out to me at 330-861-4973. And the best way for me to respond quickly is the link that you'll give them. If you click on that, I'll get your information and I'll be able to continue communicating with you. I think you can also find me on my email, patricia@pathworksohio.com.
That's good. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being on my podcast show and just dropping gems, girl.
Well, I hope so. And I'm hopeful that your audience benefited from this conversation and are encouraged to be who you're here to be and do what you're here to do. Because
yes,
what's up?
Yes. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into Life Heard Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and also listen to Life Heard Podcast on all major platforms audio. Thank you.
Welcome to Life Heard Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.